this episode of Concrete Reality TV.
So that was during the period when I was at Howard University.
Well, hold up. I got to touch on this. This is a little sensitive. It's a little sensitive.
Yeah. I was waiting on it.
I already know where you go.
Go ahead. Here we go.
This is when me and Donnie actually started building a bond. Because I had my group. At the time it was Ebony Males. Later on,
Ebony Males.
Be founded with Matthew Knowles as Adagio, but at the time it was Ebony Males. So Donnie, he saw us. We had a group. He would bring in the demos for Ideal. We go into the practice room. Yo, E, I got some shit for you, dog. He bring me into there, and he let me hear Ideal's demos and stuff. He's showing me what they doing, teaching me some shit and everything. I'm steaming because they cold. And I'm mad. I'm like, damn, these niggas is good. I'm mad as hell. So from that moment on, this rivalry started in our minds and the Ebony Males that we got to beat these fools out.
Concrete Reality.
We interrupt this program to bring
and you say third coast. Yeah. It's such a delight to be here tonight, utilizing the gift of song that I've been blessed with to bring to y'all so much joy. And you know, like I know, don't nothing bring more joy than a clean-cut New Orleans boy, huh? They say I wouldn't do it again.
Let's fast forward a little bit to now that you understand, and they letting you know, hey, you cold, cat. I mean, you got some skills, bruh. So what are you planning on doing with your life as a musician from this point on? Is it, you're going to college, or are you thinking about, hey, I want to be a professional and just bypass the whole thing? I'm trying to play for people.
Well, his was crazy because you say you want to fast forward. We still got to rewind a little bit back to Lamar. So I was in 10th grade at Lamar, and there's a group of guys that ended up being a singing group. Started in 10th grade at Lamar. I didn't sing in the group, but they were my close friends. They were my family. They were my cousins. They were my boys. They got signed to a production company when we were in 10th grade that had the group H-Town signed to them. And this was when I was in 10th grade. So my dreams of being professional at whatever it is that I was doing in 10th grade at that time, which was playing drums, I wanted to be Ideal's drummer on the road. That's what my professional aspirations were, to be a tour drummer on the road.
So that was it.
That was it. And coupled with that, of course, Ideal was a singing group and they were getting into production and all of that. And so we were all matriculating into the studio and we were listening to music like Jodeci and Boyz II Men, and we were reading album credits and we're seeing this term producer. And I'm like, oh, well, this term producer, Quincy Jones, is on every one of these Michael Jackson songs as a producer. What is that? So then I was like, oh, I want to be a producer. Oh, Devontae Swing, a producer. What is that? Teddy Riley, a producer. What is that? And I got a singing group that I can create these songs with. And no, I'm not a piano player, but I could, oh, they got these things called programmers. Oh, sequencers. Oh, what is that? So us little 10th grade, guys were really, we were exposed to some things. And the management company that had H-Town, they put us in the studio. And, of course, we weren't allowed to do much of anything besides write. And so we started writing songs. And so we wrote in a circle as a group for these five guys to sing as Ideal, and with hopes of becoming great R&B stars. That was before I got the PBA. So when I got the PBA, Ideal was running around Houston doing little gigs, this, that, and the other. They got to open up for some people, and I was still on my way to Howard University. I was still going to be on my track. During that time, record labels had a thing called artist development. So Ideal ends up getting signed to Virgin Records, but they didn't do nothing with them till 7 years later. I was already a second semester my junior year at Howard University. By the time Virgin Records called Ideal back, and they was like, okay, we got something serious that we want to put y'all on. And so
that was that movie soundtrack?
That was the movie soundtrack. Original Gangsters. And that was actually under Too Hard to Touch management with Patrick Johnson and Bishop Stick Burrell, the main producers that produced H-Town. That was a deal that they did for Ideal Mind you, I wasn't in Ideal. So they did the deal for Ideal. And at the same time, they flew them to LA, recorded this song, Inner City Blues, the Marvin Gaye remake, and put it out on Original Gangsters, which ended up being the movie that they were all featured in as a 5-man group, because Ideal was 5 men at first. So
wasn't the fifth member Melvin?
No, his name was Charles Venn.
That's Charlie V.
Yeah, Charlie V. So Charlie V exited the group early for religious reasons at that time. And then it ended up being the 4-member group that you see today. So in between Original Gangsters, that release and that movie, like there was a lot of business that got kind of crossed, and Ideal ended up getting put on the shelf at Virgin Records. So they didn't have any other releases after that Inner City Blues record. And that came for like maybe another 4 years. So that was during the period when I was at Howard University.
Well, hold up. I got to touch on this. This is a little sensitive. It's a little sensitive.
I was waiting on it.
I already know where you go.
Go ahead. Here we go.
This is when me and Donnie actually started building a bond. Because I had my group. Well, at the time it was Ebony Mills. Later on,
Ebony Mills.
Be founded with Matthew Knows as Adagio, but at the time it was Ebony Mills. So Donnie, he saw us. We had a group. He would bring in the demos for Ideal. We go into the practice room. Yo, E, I got some shit for you, dog. He bring me into there, and he let me hear Ideal's demos and stuff. He's showing me what they doing, teaching me some shit and everything. I'm steaming because they cold. And I'm mad. I'm like, damn, these niggas is good. I'm mad as hell. So from that moment on, this rivalry started in our minds in the Ebony Mills that we got to beat these fools out. Dude, Donnie.
Places and 4 times.
Donnie's supposed to be my boy. He's sitting up here helping Ideal. He go to my high school and he ain't even cut for us like that.
Man, we was territorial.
We jealous. So it was I don't know if you remember Faith Luster. She had a going away party, a big concert, and then Ideal was first time they came to PVA. I don't know how they got there, if Donnie was a part of this thing, but
that's why you laughing.
So we had I think Faith invited them though.
They did anything for Faith. They love Faith.
They love, man. So she brought them over for the concert, and we singing too. Of course, Aaron's her brother, so he lead singer in the group. We singing too. We sing "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye," and it's like 10 of us up there. We got all the dudes, seem like all the singers at PVA in the damn group. We sing in unison and shit. I'm like, what in the hell? Unison, lead singer, and a bass, and we just 10 dudes up there. All the mics going out. I think we got 3 mics. One of them, 2 of them was out. One of them was on. When Ideal got up there, all the mics was on. They sung Lift Every Voice and sing National Negro Anthem. Killed it. Everybody shouting and screaming and dancing. And then after we left, got off stage, and they came off. One of them said, "Just pray about it."
Oh
that
man,
sound like Jay. Just pray about it. Just like that. It's like that scene in Purple Rain after the time get off stage. Or as they walk in the hallway.
How's the family?
how's the family?
How's the family?
Let's go crazy.
Let's get down.
Let me tell you how we used to think about it. We used to look at Adagio as Boys to Men and Ideal as Jodeci. That's how we saw it in our mind. And so it was like, even whereas the rivalry could have been what it was still just as formidable to say that these were the guys that would be in the conversation. You see what I'm saying? So just as much as whatever was in y'all's head, it was even in our minds. Like, if it was a comparison, then we take Jodeci side as we think that they would take Boyz II Men. So.
Boys, man, makes sense.
It was a healthy rivalry between R&B groups in Houston. You know what I mean? It was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was fun, man, because, you know, I was on the outside looking in because I can't sing. I'm just a little drummer at Hartman Middle School at this point because y'all in high school. And I'm like, okay, man, I'm just hearing, you know, when my brother come home, he telling me about this stuff and I'm hearing all this stuff in the streets.
Hey, I remember when the single dropped. I think Ephraim might have tore up a whole radio.
Which one? Original Gangsters or Get Gone?
No, Get Gone.
I was in the Navy when that came.
I think he tore up the radio when was it Get Gone or No by Destiny Child?
No, that was Destiny Child when they came out.
Okay, that was what it was. Yeah, he tore up the radio.
Yeah, he tore up the radio then.
I was just pissed. I think I was because I was on the ship when that shit came out. And I was like, these motherfuckers.
They fought to get out. Look, they fought all that time to get out the contract with Matthew, and then next day, you know, about what, a year or 2 years later, maybe.
Years later, yep.
Yeah.
Then Ideal goes on tour and opens up for Destiny's Child with TLC.
Oh man, come on, man.
Just made it worse.
Come on, man.
The quest to be a professional in the music business was something that we were learning along the way, and at the same time still pursuing an education. By the time, like I said, when Virgin got around to working with Ideal, we had to reorganize their whole approach. We had to reorganize their whole approach back to the label to say, we still want to do this. And it was basically almost re-auditioning for the label. And this time around, it was a little different. We didn't have a covering. We weren't covered by H-Town's production company, you know, at that point. You know, that deal had fizzled with the president of the label who was getting ousted a year later that we didn't know about. So everything that he was doing was really kind of rushing the last bit of money that he was funneling through Richard Branson's company at that time. So it was like Ideal became a victim to all of the ongoings of the business while at the same time having a platinum album. And that platinum album took some work to get platinum, but it was during this time where things were a little uncertain for them, and we took upon business relationships that yielded us the ability to get the attention that they needed as a group. And that's how we got to Noontime. And that's where the story integrates into Bryan Michael Cox's association with Ideal, because we were all on the come up at the same time. And with Bryan was 2 years younger than me. He was at Clark Atlanta at the time. And I remember there was a hiatus period between Original Gangsters and what I'm talking about now. And I was working at Mars Music in Houston, Texas. I had already left Howard University, went to LA on the first trip, trying to get the business straight, ended up back at home for about another 6 months to a year before we got it all taken care of. And I say we, right? It's a very fine line in that conversation because I wasn't included in none of the business conversations by then.
Oh, dang.
But Ideal, for all intents and purposes, wasn't going to go anywhere without me. It wasn't just like, y'all just going to leave me in Houston? No. I moved to LA and I stayed on that couch for 2 years, straight up.
Damn.
Or, you know, and this was all voluntary. I think I went to LA with like maybe $200-$300 in my pocket. And, you know, at that time, you know, they were getting like $2,000 a month each from Virgin Records, you know, to basically be housed in LA because there were certain laws that, you know, if you're going to have an artist sign that, you know, doesn't live here, you got to pay them a certain living expense during that time. So I wasn't privy to none of that. Right.
Wait, honey, so I got to interject because I want to know, how did your mom feel about you dropping out of Howard to go chase these music industry fantasies?
My mother was always supportive of my dreams.
Oh,
she went mute on the idea of me leaving school. However, the results of my ambition, I think my dad was more disappointed about me leaving school because he the one that put a hell of a lot of money invested into what I was doing. And he expressed that. He was like, I paid a lot. Shouts out to my dad. But my mom, even though she was a stickler on education, she was always encouraging me to follow my dream. And she believed in us. She believed in Ideal. She believed in, you know, the potential for us to do what we were going to do. And they were our biggest fans, you know, between, you know, the motherly crew that we had, you know, all single mothers.
Shout out to
all
moms.
of them, every last one of them, you know.
Shout out to moms.
So, yeah, I mean, she rode with it. She wasn't happy about it, but she rode with it. And yeah, it was weird even when I made that decision to leave school, because I didn't have to. And I wouldn't encourage anyone at this particular time and juncture in their life, if they're in school, to leave school at this particular point of the entertainment business, because it is not.
Oh, no. Not right now.
So the opportunities that we believed in and that we saw for ourselves then, and the potential for the life that we could create for ourselves, had a bigger footprint at that time. And so we went after it, and they got signed to a major label, and they sold 1 million records. And I ended up getting my first 3-song deal off of the deal, because I was in the shadows saying, hey, look at me, look at what but I was also saying we, because we wanted to be a production company. Also, as Ideal, Abstract Productions wanted to be a production company that produced Ideal, which was where my integration came into it. But I was just a little 18-year-old kid. They wasn't giving me no $1 million deals. But there was this one A&R guy that was in Virgin Records named Alex Mejia. Shouts out to Alex Mejia. He gave us equipment, and he was like, I'm going to let y'all use this equipment, because this one little keyboard Donnie got, this little ASR-10, is not cutting it for y'all. So he let us use an MPC. He let us use a mixer. He let us use a rolling keyboard. The MPC he let us use was the MPC that Dear Mama was made off of for Tupac. And he was an A&R that was from the Bay. He let us use it. So it was like, wow, somebody believed in us. And then Virgin Records gave me, but it was really us, a 3-song deal worth $30,000 for Ideal, all in. And I'm tapping my hand on the keyboard like this, because if you know what all in is, for 3 songs, $30,000 at the time, you'd understand how my profit came out to be $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I split all of the rest of it with the other 4 guys that was getting $2,000 a month.
Wow.
Just so we could be Abstract Productions and Donnie could actually really have his part. Now, one of those songs actually made Ideal's record out of the 3.
Which one was that?
It was called All About You.
I remember that.
Yeah, it basically solidified me as a producer, or having the ability to score a production deal. But it didn't solidify Ideal as a production team. And Virgin Records didn't want to pay them as a production team, because they were already paying them $2,000 a month as artists. So they was like, we're not going to invest in you guys anymore as producers, when we really need to go get hit-making producers to write some hits for y'all, so y'all could really come and make some of this money back. But, you know, that time, are you going to pay a Babyface budget? Are you going to pay a Timbaland budget? Are you going to pay a Neptune's budget? These were budgets that were like $160,000 per track.
Right.
So my little fee, not all in, by the way, fee. That was their fee. So that little $30,000 I got all in taught me the difference between what an all in budget was and a fee based budget was. But I had to get some bones under my belt in order for them to, you know, consider me for a fee, little Donnie. So then this brilliant idea came, because that little hiatus I was talking about, one of my friends called me on a come up from Ideal, because he knew about all the things that was going on with Ideal, and he was getting his bones as a producer. And he called me and he was like, yo, I'm at this production company here in Atlanta, and nobody's working with me. Only these 2 twins, they writing all my tracks right now. I can't get no place. These 2 twins happen to be the 2 twins of Jagged Edge, and the other guy was Bryan Michael Cox. And he called me and was like, yo, I want to send you some tracks for Ideal. You send me some tracks for Jagged Edge. So me and B. Cox was like trying to conspire with each other to help each other on the come up.
Tight.
While he was in Atlanta, and Jagged Edge hadn't, you know, broken off. They didn't do J.E. Heartbreak yet, because that's what B. Cox and them were creating on all them records that he was making with them that nobody heard, that they eventually took to JD, and JD was like, you need to bring me that guy. Right. So JD and them struck a deal with Noontime to use Bryan, and then the rest is history with Jagged Edge. But at the whole time, Jagged Edge was at Noontime Recordings every single day, writing. This wasn't a powerist that Ideal had the luxury of being able to do. They wasn't able to develop their writing skills right? In an environment that was competitive. And so I brought this idea to Carmonique, who was our manager at the time. I was like, hey, have you heard of this company called Noontime? She's like, yeah, I know Noontime. And so she knew the owners who owned Noontime, which was Chris Hicks and a couple other guys, and they actually went to Howard University. So all of these things started coming together, right? Eric Roberson was at Howard University with me at the time, and he brought back this demo that he did. And he was like, yo, it's these cats down in Atlanta called Noontime, and there's one cat named J-Dub. He's up in New York working with Puff Daddy on all of this Faith Evans stuff. Check out this song he did with me. And so from Howard University, we've been talking about J-Dub and Noontime and all these guys. So when B. Cox brings it up while I'm in Mars Music in Houston on that little hiatus, and we talked to Carmonique about it, Virgin Records signs off on it, gives Noontime $250,000 to do 5 songs. Noontime parlays that into a co-executive production credit on Ideal, which ended up giving them logo credit on Ideal, which made the industry think Ideal was signed to Noontime when Ideal was not signed to Noontime. Gave credence to Noontime because they were doing 5 songs to say, hey, we're imprinting y'all with the brand of your sound, which they did. Mm-hmm. Noontime had a very distinct sound at that time. And it was very changing the way in which music was heard. Like between what Diddy was doing, Noontime was basically like the sister production company to the Hitman. And Hitman, right. So Bryan's there. Noontime wasn't paying no attention to Bryan. And then one of his peers, who was about 16 years old at the time, Bryan, I think, was 18 years old at the time. And so they were the 2 closest in age who were working at Noontime together. It was his kid, Johnta Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Johnta ended up writing a hit for Tyrese Sweet Lady at 16 years old, and he was on the ATL map as a songwriter from that point on. So we didn't experience an operation like this before. We didn't basically see factories of, great songs and hit records being outputted in 4 and 5 named hit-making producers or in one studio together. Like, we was like, oh, my God. And little old me, I was the foreigner in the building. And if you know anything about the music industry at that time, it was a very closed environment. So for Ideal to bring a foreign producer into the environment of another production team, it's almost like, oh, y'all giving this nigga the secret sauce. Who is you? Closed session. Out of here. Out.
Damn.
But I was the only one there that stood up and was an advocate for Ideal against people like Johnta, who at the time were really getting their bones too at the time. And so everybody's egos was like really, really big. You know what I'm saying? So we were all in the room fighting for attention. But Johnta wrote these hellified songs and nobody could deny him. And Noontime, at every juncture that they got, they were really beating up our emotional confidence because there's like, y'all niggas songs suck. Y'all need us. Y'all can't write. Y'all might could sing, but y'all suck. This song ain't a hit. And just think about getting beat down with that daily. So, he's like, beat us into submission. And next thing you know, but we got these dope ass songs because you got to recognize the factory and the competitive awareness that was around and the synergy that was in that building. We had to respect it. Jazzy Faye was in one room creating hits. Teddy Bishop in another room creating hits. You know what I'm saying? You had people like T.I. and Ludacris coming over because they was trying to get signed at the time. And these were brand new artists. So all of this creative energy was coming around Noontime. And it just rubbed off on us. And Ideal was, we were privy to be there because, one, the bill was paid. And they had a deal of a release that was going to come out. So everybody's racing to get on Ideal's record. Now, I come down there, Mr. Donnie Scantz. Oh, I already got 3 songs. Oh, fuck y'all. I'm that shit. Come down there, get my shit handed to me. Right? Don't get it twisted. So they write Get Gone. Get Gone is chosen as a single. We orchestrated it to where it was all Houston based. We love the fact B. Cox produced it. We love the fact that, it was a great record and Virgin was behind it. And it ended up.
Wait. Quick.
Yeah, bring it back.
And because I'm listening like a kid at a damn candy store. This dude dropping jewels. Do y'all hear this? I'm
like, hold on. You just randomly just say that and then just go to the next. No, you got to be one
special. I'm forgetting I'm interviewing shit. I'm like, damn. Okay, I got to ask some questions. But who played the guitar on Get Gone?
Kevin Hicks.
Come in here for a minute.
I always wanted to know who the hell played that cold ass guitar lick.
Noontime was amazing because everybody wanted the Noontime sound. Everybody wanted some Kevin Hicks guitars in their tracks. You know what I'm saying? At that time, that's the guitars that were really prominent in the Noontime sound. Whether you hear it in the Jagged Edge records or you hear it on my Aaliyah record, like Kevin Hicks was the Noontime sound, and the drums that we used to create in there. Like we didn't have no splice where we could go download sounds and. You know, and everybody had the same sounds. No, Noontime was a very coveted place, and I was an outsider, and they were focused on Ideal, so everything we did didn't matter, but everything that they did mattered, and it proved it, right?
Who actually wrote Get Gone? Was that a combination of people?
Johnta Austin.
Johnta. Okay.
Okay, so I was the one rallying because Ideal, we were the musicians that we were. I was like, man, y'all might could write, and our writing might suck, but y'all can't arrange songs like these guys. Y'all can't arrange harmonies like that. Like Noontime confessed to me, some of the guys that were in Noontime, they was like, we was going to jump you because you was around here talking this, right? But I was advocating for my guys the best way that I knew how. Wow, the whole time we were getting told, well, our stuff is whack, but I'm like, but they got the major deal.
True.
So yeah, like we coming to y'all for the songs. Why don't we all build? And at the same time, you know, we created an opportunity for Bryan to also be able to get looked at more because a real single was actually really about to drop right before J.E. Heartbreak did. And even though Jagged Edge had an album that came out before, that first single, that whole album was just produced by Jermaine Dupri and Manuel Seal. That was before J.D. even discovered B. Cox. So when J.D. discovered B. Cox, Manuel Seal was out of there. And next thing you know, hit. Grammy. Jagged Edge, being the great songwriters that they are, they serviced Ideal too as well. So Creep In was written by Johnta Austin and Jagged Edge.
Oh, damn.
That was Ideal's second single, produced by Bryan Cox. So again, this was all of our come up at the same time. And during that time, I wasn't even signed to Noontime. I was Ideal's advocate. So Ideal went on after Get Going, had their first hit record. The record didn't go over gold at that point. 500,000 records. That was a failure at the time of the music business. Let a record sell 500,000 now. What I'm saying is 500,000 wasn't shit. And the label was like, we need to push this record to 1 million because Ideal, quote unquote, had a lot of money they needed to pay back to the label, blah, blah, blah. However, what was hot in the business were these KG beats at the time. And KG produced this group Next, which was some hellified songwriters because RL was a hellified songwriter.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And so in the middle of Ideal's release, Virgin was like, we're going to do a repackaging and we're going to add a song. And the song wasn't produced by Noontime. Noontime was in an uproar about this. But it was like, you know, they didn't really have any control over making a decision. So Virgin made the decision to go with KG. They wrote a hit record, whatever, with Lil Mo and RL. And next thing you know, that record became a hit also. It became Ideal's second hit.
Can you tell them what hit this was?
This was Whatever.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
No, that
was a smash.
Mind you, Ideal's off to the races at this point. This is when they go on tour, opening up for TLC, and Destiny's Child was also opening up for TLC. So Ideal was gone. I'm talking about egos blasted up out of here. We are off to the roofs. And so where you think I was?
With them?
Nope.
In Houston?
Nope. There's a dark part of this story that comes about here. On the first trip to Atlanta after B. Cox gave me the hint about Noontime, right? The first trip was just going to get the water wet. The second trip was after Noontime got the 250K, and they were going to give us 5 songs. So between the first trip and the second trip to Atlanta, we all lived in LA. Mind you, I was living on Ideal's couch at this time, right?
Right.
Get Gone hit record was out doing its thing. Video was out, shows was popping, was doing some things. So Carmonique Roberts was the manager of Ideal at this time. Shouts out to Carmonique. And she was special because she saw in me the desire for me to be a producer, and she supported that. the best way she could, that while there was nobody investing in me personally to do it, right? Alex Mejia gave us the equipment off of my relationship with him. There were some other people in LA who invited me into their studio out here, and we were all trying to like do our things as a producer. So I was really on my own quest for a long time, while Ideal was their own entity, already made, doing their thing. Donnie Scantz still had one song on Ideal, but I'm still figuring it out. Now, mind you, this part is going to get a little dark and other people might have a little opinions, but I'm going to make it as light as I can.
Nope, we keeps it real. Concrete reality TV.
All right, so look, I'm going to respect the dead in this part of the conversation. So I am going to make it, a little bit respectful.
Got it.
Right.
At this time, we were back in LA. I think it was around the time when Dead Presidents, the movie, had just come out. And it had gotten its success. So mind you, 2 floors up from where we lived, we were on the 7th floor. Terrence Howard lived on the 9th floor. Me and Terrence Howard became really, really close friends because he was shooting this movie, The Best Man. And he was a guitar player in the movie. So he was really getting into character. So he wanted to come down and record some ideas with me, and we'd be smoking out. And he was an artist type dude. He was really, really weird. And we was just really getting to know him. But it was around a time where we were like back in LA and everybody was doing what they was doing. So we was in Hollywood, and I think egos was brewing. We came back to the apartment and Terrence had left and he went back up to his, and guys was frying some chicken. And after everybody got their chicken, like, little Cinderella, little me was like, okay, can I eat? I want a little piece of chicken. Right? I go to grab my piece of chicken, and Cedric got mad at me like, nigga, you can't have no piece of chicken. Nigga, you a guest here. Like, and so I was like, whoa, I'm a guest here now. It's been after like 2 years, now you got a hit record. Like, I'm like, oh shit. As a result of that, it was like some trickle down blowouts. I had a little blowout with Wayne too. And I guess, the pressure was, you taking up space, these Scantz. And so I was like, shit, this was after the first trip to Atlanta. So the second trip to Atlanta comes up. Carmonique's mom lets us stay at her house. The air was still a little bit weird coming off of California. Carmonique is like, this time, Donnie, I suggest you stay in Atlanta. All right. All my clothes was in a trash bag, I remember. And I'm like, what you mean? She's like, well, you can stay at my mom's house. And so her mom had big mansion. I'm talking about this black affluence. Her mom worked for like Coca-Cola, right? But Carmonique was basically a manager until her mom, she was broke. And her mom was like, why the hell you got all these 5 grown ass men? So, but anyway, her mom was supportive of her daughter. And, she befriended us. It was like family. So she let us stay in her crib, beautiful crib in Atlanta. And it was just a little far from the studio. So, Ideal moved on and did their thing. And we was basically virtually staying in the studio, in Noontime studio. Me and B. Cox shared the C room because Noontime at that point was so graciously, gracious to me to allow me to share a room with B. Cox since he was associated with us. So Carmonique pulled me to the side. She was like, okay, cool. We finished, this trip here in Atlanta. But Donnie, here's the deal. Your time with Ideal is done.
Dang.
As you can see, I was raised in the street.